My name is Lucas Gray, and I've been chasing shadows for as long as I can remember. I'm a photographer, but not the kind who shoots weddings or landscapes. I'm an urban explorer. Someone who seeks out the forgotten places of the world, the ones that time has left behind. In 2025, I've built a small following online, posting photos of abandoned factories, crumbling asylums, and ghost towns, each image a story of decay and loss. But nothing I'd ever seen prepared me for what I found at the Starlight Carnival. I first heard about the carnival from a follower on my Instagram page, a guy named Ethan who'd grown up in New Orleans. He sent me a message late one night, telling me about a place on the outskirts of the city, a carnival that had been shut down in 1987 after a fire killed 12 people, mostly kids. The Starlight Carnival had been a local gem in the 1980s, a glittering escape filled with rides, games, and clowns, but after the fire, it became a graveyard of memories, its gates locked, its grounds left to rot. Ethan said the locals avoided it, claimed it was cursed, that the fire wasn't an accident but a sacrifice, that something lived there now, something that didn't let people leave. He ended his message with a warning: "Don't go, Lucas. Not unless you're ready to face what you've buried." I should have listened, but I didn't. I've always been drawn to the places that scare people, the ones that whisper secrets through their broken windows and rusted gates. I did some research online, digging through old articles and forum posts, and what I found only made me more determined to go. The fire at the Starlight Carnival had been ruled an accident, faulty wiring in the funhouse, but there were rumors, whispers of something darker. Witnesses claimed they'd heard laughter before the flames started. Laughter that didn't sound human. Laughter that came from the shadows. Over the years, people who'd stuck into the carnival reported strange things: lights flickering in the darkness, the sound of carousel music, the feeling of being watched. Some never came back, their disappearances blamed on the swampy terrain, but the locals knew better. They called it the Carnival of Lost Souls, said it was a place where the dead played, where the living didn't belong. I drove to New Orleans on a humid October evening, my camera bag slung over my shoulder, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and unease. The Starlight Carnival was about 20 miles outside the city, hidden in a patch of swampy forest, its entrance marked by a faded archway, the words Starlight Carnival barely legible under layers of grime and moss. I parked my car a mile away, not wanting to draw attention, and hiked through the underbrush, my boots sinking into the mud, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. I narrated as I walked, my voice steady despite the chill in the air, describing the scene for my followers, for the video I planned to post, for the story I wanted to tell. I reached the entrance just as the moon rose, its pale light casting eerie shadows across the archway. The gates were chained shut, but the lock was rusted, and a few hard pulls with my crowbar broke it open. I slipped inside, my camera ready, my flashlight beam trembling in my hand as I took in the sight before me. The carnival was a skeleton of its former self. Rusted rides loomed like giants in the darkness, their paint peeling, their metal creaking in the wind. The carousel was still there, its horses frozen in mid-gallop, their eyes chipped and lifeless. A Ferris wheel stood at the far end, its cabin swaying gently, as if someone had just stepped off. Booths lined the midway, their signs faded, but still readable. Win a prize. Test your strength. Enter the funhouse if you dare. I felt a shiver run down my spine. But I told myself it was just the wind, just the atmosphere, just my imagination. I started exploring, my camera clicking as I captured the decay, my voice narrating what I saw, what I felt, what I thought. I described the carousel horses, their painted smiles more sinister than joyful, the way the moonlight reflected of their glass eyes. I described the booths, their counters covered in dust, their prizes stuffed animals and plastic toys still hanging on the walls, untouched for decades. I described the funhouse, its entrance shaped like a clown's gaping mouth, its paint chipped but its eyes still bright, still watching. I told my followers I wasn't scared, that I'd seen worse, that I was here to document, to uncover, to understand. But then I heard it, a sound, faint at first, like the tinkling of a music box, coming from the carousel. I froze, my camera still raised, my flashlight beam darting toward the sound. The music grew louder, a haunting melody that seemed to echo through the carnival, and then I saw it. The carousel began to move, its horses rising and falling, its lights flickering to life, casting a sickly yellow glow across the midway. I stumbled back, my breath coming in short gasps, my voice trembling as I narrated what I was seeing, what I was hearing, hoping my camera would capture it, hoping I wasn't losing my mind. I called out, asking if anyone was there, if this was some kind of prank, but there was no answer. Just the music, just the creaking of the carousel, just the feeling that I wasn't alone. I turned my flashlight toward the funhouse, and that's when I saw them shadows, moving in the darkness, shapes that weren't quite human, their edges blurred, their movements jerky, like puppets on strings. They were watching me, their eyes glowing faintly, their mouths stretched into wide, unnatural grins. I heard a laugh, high and childlike, coming from the funhouse, and then a voice, soft and sing-song, saying, "Come play with us, Lucas. We've been waiting for you." I stumbled back, my heart pounding, my camera shaking in my hands, my voice a whisper as I narrated what I'd heard, what I'd seen, what I was feeling. I told myself I should leave, that I should get out, that this wasn't worth it. But I couldn't. I'd come here for a reason, to uncover the truth, to face the shadows, to tell the story. I took a deep breath, my flashlight beam trembling as I pointed it toward the funhouse, toward the clown's gaping mouth, toward the darkness inside. I said I was going in, that I had to know, that I couldn't turn back now. And then I stepped forward into the Carnival of Lost Souls, into the nightmare that was waiting for me. I stepped into the funhouse, my flashlight beam trembling as it cut through the darkness, my camera still recording, capturing every creak, every whisper, every shadow. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and something sweeter, something like cotton candy, but it was wrong, cloying, like it was masking something rotten underneath. The walls were painted with faded murals of clowns and circus animals, their colors peeling, their smiles stretched wide, their eyes too bright to alive. I narrated as I walked, my voice a shaky whisper, describing the murals, the cracked mirrors lining the hallway, the way the floorboards groaned under my weight, the way the shadows seemed to move just out of sight. I told myself I was fine, that I'd been in worse places, that I could handle this, but deep down, I knew I was lying. The laughter I'd heard outside, the childlike voice saying, "Come play with us, Lucas," echoed in my mind, a constant reminder that I wasn't alone, that something was here, something that knew my name, something that wanted me. I moved deeper, into the funhouse, my flashlight beam darting from side to side, my camera capturing the warped reflections in the mirrors, reflections that didn't always match my movements, reflections that smiled when I didn't, that reached out when I stood still. I reached a larger room, a maze of mirrors that reflected me 100 times over, each version of myself slightly different, slightly wrong. One reflection had black eyes, another had a grin that stretched too wide, a third was missing its face entirely, just a blank void where my features should have been. I stumbled back, my breath coming in short gasps, my voice trembling as I narrated what I was seeing, what I was feeling, hoping my followers would believe me, hoping I wasn't losing my mind. I called out again, asking who was there, what they wanted, why they were doing this, but there was no answer. Just the laughter, louder now, coming from everywhere, from the mirrors, from the shadows, from inside my head. And then I saw her, a girl, no more than 10 years old, standing at the far end of the room, her back to me, her hair long and tangled, her dress torn and stained. She was holding a balloon, its red surface faded but still bright in the darkness, and she was humming, a soft, haunting melody that sent a chill down my spine. I froze, my flashlight beam fixed on her, my camera zooming in, my voice a whisper as I described her, as I asked if she was real, if she was alive, if she needed help. She turned slowly, her movements jerky, like a marionette on strings, and when I saw her face, I gasped, my heart pounding, my legs trembling. Her face was porcelain, like a doll's, but cracked, the fissures running like spiderwebs across her cheeks, her eyes glass, glowing faintly with a sickly yellow light. She smiled, her lips painted red, her teeth sharp and jagged, and she spoke, her voice the same childlike sing-song I'd heard before, saying, "You shouldn't have come, Lucas. You can't leave now. You have to play the game." I stumbled back, my flashlight beam shaking, my voice breaking as I asked what game, what she meant, who she was. But she didn't answer, just laughed, the sound high and piercing, echoing through the room, through the mirrors, through my mind. The mirrors around me began to glow, their surfaces rippling like water. And then they changed, showing not my reflection but scenes, memories, moments from my past I tried to forget. I saw myself at 16 standing by the river with my best friend, Ethan, the same Ethan who'd sent me the message about the carnival. We were laughing, carefree, until I pushed him. A stupid prank that went wrong. His body hitting the rocks, the water turning red, his screams fading as I ran, as I left him, as I told myself it wasn't my fault. I saw my mother's funeral, her face pale in the coffin, my father's voice saying I should have been there, that I should have called, that I could have saved her. I saw every mistake, every regret, every moment of guilt I'd buried deep, playing out in the mirrors. Over and over, a loop I couldn't escape. I screamed, my voice raw, my hands clawing at the mirrors, trying to break them, trying to stop the memories, but they wouldn't shatter, wouldn't stop, wouldn't let me go. The girl laughed again, her voice echoing through the room, saying, I had to face it, that I had to play, that I had to win if I wanted to leave. I fell to my knees, my flashlight rolling away, my camera still recording, capturing everything, capturing me, capturing the girl, capturing the mirrors. I begged her to stop, to let me go, to tell me what she wanted, but she just smiled, her porcelain face cracking further, her glass eyes glowing brighter, her voice a whisper as she said, You're not done yet, Lucas. The game has just begun. I stepped into the funhouse, my flashlight beam trembling as it cut through the darkness, my camera still recording, capturing every creak, every whisper, every heartbeat. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and decay, the walls covered in peeling paint, the floor sticky under my boots, the clown's gaping mouth closed behind me, or at least it felt like it did, the entrance swallowed by shadows, leaving me in a maze of narrow corridors and broken mirrors. I narrated as I walked, my voice a shaky whisper, describing the funhouse, the way the mirrors distorted my reflection, making my face look stretched, my eyes too big, my mouth too wide. I said I didn't know what I was looking for, didn't know what I'd find, but I couldn't turn back, not now, not after what I'd seen, what I'd heard. The corridors twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the funhouse, the mirrors reflecting endless versions of myself, each one more distorted than the last. I saw my reflection smile when I didn't, saw it move when I stood still, saw it raise a hand when mine was at my side. I told myself it was a trick, an illusion, something the funhouse was designed to do, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. I heard the laughter again, high and childlike, echoing through the corridors, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. The voice spoke again, the same sing-song tone, saying, You're getting closer, Lucas. Don't you want to play? Don't you want to see? I called out, asking who they were, what they wanted, why they were doing this, but there was no answer, just the laughter, just the whispers, just the feeling that I was being led somewhere, drawn deeper into the funhouse, into the carnival, into something I couldn't escape. I turned a corner, and the corridor opened into a larger room, a circular chamber with a domed ceiling, its walls lined with more mirrors, its floor covered in faded red and white tiles. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it sat a clown mask, its paint chipped but its smile still wide, still cruel, still watching me. I approached the pedestal, my flashlight beam trembling as it illuminated the mask, my camera capturing every detail, the cracked paint, the empty eye holes, the way the smile seemed to stretch wider the closer I got. I narrated what I was seeing, my voice barely above a whisper, saying I didn't know what it meant, didn't know why it was here, but I felt like I had to touch it, had to pick it up, had to understand. I reached out, my fingers brushing the mask, and that's when the room came alive. The mirrors glowed with a sickly yellow light. The tiles beneath my feet began to shift, and the laughter filled the air. Louder now, more voices joining in. A chorus of children, of adults, of things that weren't human. I stumbled back, my heart pounding, my camera shaking in my hands, my voice a panicked whisper as I narrated what was happening, what I was feeling, what I was seeing. The mirrors didn't reflect me anymore, they reflected other people, faces I didn't recognize, faces that were screaming, crying, begging for help. I saw a little girl in a 1980 seconds dress, her eyes black, her mouth open in a silent scream. I saw a man in a carnival worker's uniform, his face burned, his hands clawing at the glass. I saw a woman in a modern jacket, her hair matted with blood, her eyes wide with terror, and I realized with a sickening jolt that she looked like someone who'd gone missing, someone I'd read about, someone who'd come to the carnival and never left. The voices spoke again, all at once, a cacophony of whispers that seemed to come from the mirrors, from the mask, from the air itself. They said my name, Lucas, 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 over and over, their tones a mix of anger, sadness, and hunger. They said I shouldn't have come, that I belonged to them now, that I'd never leave. I screamed, my voice raw, my hands clawing at my ears, trying to block them out, trying to make them stop, but they didn't. They wouldn't. They couldn't. I turned to run, to find a way out, but the corridors had changed. The mirrors had shifted. The funhouse had become a labyrinth, a trap, a prison. I ran anyway, my flashlight beam bouncing off the walls, my camera still recording, my voice a desperate plea as I narrated what was happening, begging for someone to hear me, to help me, to save me. I turned corner after corner, each one leading to another corridor, another mirror, another face staring back at me, screaming, crying, begging. I saw the little girl again, her black eyes fixed on me, her voice a whisper as she said, "You did this, Lucas. You made this happen. You can't run from it." I froze, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my mind racing with what she meant, with what I'd done, with what I had buried. I thought about that night, 10 years ago, when I was 18, when I'd betrayed my best friend, Ethan, the same Ethan who told me about the carnival. We'd been at a party, drinking, laughing, pretending we were invincible. Ethan had wanted to leave, said he wasn't feeling well, but I'd convinced him to stay, told him he was fine, told him to have another drink. He did, and then he got behind the wheel, and then he crashed, and then he was gone. I told myself it wasn't my fault, that I couldn't have known, that I didn't mean for it to happen, but deep down, I knew the truth. I'd killed him, as surely as if I'd been driving the car myself, and I'd spent the last 10 years running from that guilt, hiding from it, burying it. The little girl in the mirror smiled, her black eyes gleaming, her voice a whisper as she said, "We know, Lucas. We see, we feel, and now you'll feel it too." The mirrors glowed brighter, the laughter grew louder, and the room began to shake, the tiles cracking beneath my feet, the air growing cold, so cold I could see my breath. I screamed again, my voice breaking, my hands clawing at the mirrors, trying to break them, trying to stop them, trying to escape. But the mirrors didn't break, the voices didn't stop, the carnival didn't let me go. I ran again, my legs burning, my lungs aching, my mind a whirlwind of fear and guilt and memory. I turned another corner, and the corridor opened into a new space, a midway lit by flickering lights. The booths and rides from outside now inside, now alive, now waiting. The carousel was there, its horses moving faster now, their eyes glowing red, their mouths open in silent screams. The ferries wheel turned slowly, its cabins filled with shadowy figures, their hands pressed against the glass, their faces twisted in agony. The booths were manned by clowns, their masks like the one on the pedestal, their smiles wide, their eyes empty, their voices calling out to me, saying, "Step right up, Lucas. Play a game, win a prize, lose your soul." I stumbled back, my flashlight beam trembling as it swept across the midway, my camera capturing every detail, my voice a broken whisper as I narrated what I was seeing, what I was feeling, what I was remembering. I said I didn't know what was happening, didn't know what they wanted, didn't know how to stop it. I said I was sorry, that I didn't mean for Ethan to die, that I'd do anything to take it back, to make it right, to be free. The clowns laughed, their voices a chorus of mockery, saying I couldn't take it back, couldn't make it right, couldn't be free. They said I was theirs now, that I'd play their games, that I'd lose my soul, just like the others, just like Ethan. I turned to run again, but the midway stretched on forever, the lights flickering faster, the laughter growing louder, the shadows closing in. I saw Ethan in the crowd, his face pale, his eyes black, his mouth open in a silent scream. He reached for me, his voice a whisper as he said, "You did this, Lucas. You brought me here. You brought us all here." I screamed, my voice raw, my hands clawing at the air, trying to reach him, trying to save him, trying to save myself. But He faded into the shadows, into the laughter, into the carnival, and I was alone again. Alone with the clowns, with the rides, with the voices, with the guilt that wouldn't let me go. I stood in the midway of the Starlight Carnival, my flashlight beam trembling as it swept across the flickering lights, the rusted rides, the clowns with their wide, empty smiles. The carousel spun faster now, its horses screaming silently, their red eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. The Ferris wheel turned, its cabins filled with shadowy figures, their hands pressed against the glass, their faces twisted in agony. The clowns at the booths called out to me, their voices a chorus of mockery, saying, "Step right up, Lucas. Play a game. Win a prize. Lose your soul." I wanted to run, to scream, to escape, but the midway stretched on forever. The lights flickering faster, the laughter growing louder, the shadows closing in. I saw Ethan again, my best friend, the one I'd betrayed, the one I'd killed. His face pale, his eyes black, his mouth open in a silent scream. He reached for me, his voice a whisper as he said, "You did this, Lucas. You brought me here. You brought us all here." I screamed, my voice raw, my hands clawing at the air, trying to reach him, trying to save him, trying to save myself. But he faded into the shadows, into the laughter, into the carnival, and I was alone again. Alone with the clowns, with the rides, with the voices, with the guilt that wouldn't let me go. I stumbled forward, my legs shaking, my lungs burning, my mind a whirlwind of fear and memory. I narrated as I moved, my voice a broken whisper, describing the midway, the clowns, the rides, the way the air felt thick with something I couldn't name, something that wasn't air, something that was alive. I said I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to stop it, didn't know how to get out. I said I was sorry, that I didn't mean for Ethan to die, that I'd do anything to take it back, to make it right, to be free. The clowns laughed louder, their voices echoing through the midway, saying I couldn't take it back, couldn't make it right, couldn't be free. They said I was theirs now, that I'd play their games, that I'd lose my soul, just like the others, just like Ethan. I reached a booth at the end of the midway, its sign reading "Guess Your Fate" in faded red letters, its counter manned by a clown with a mask like the one I'd seen in the funhouse, its smile wide, its eyes empty, its voice a low growl as it spoke. It said I had one chance, one game, one way out. It said I had to guess my fate, to face my guilt, to confess my sin, or I'd be trapped here forever, reliving that night, reliving Ethan's death, reliving the pain I'd caused. I stared at the clown, my heart pounding, my hands trembling, my voice a whisper as I asked what I had to do, what it wanted, what it meant. The clown laughed, its voice a mix of childlike glee and something darker, something older, something that wasn't human. It said I had to look into the mirror, the one behind the counter, the one that glowed with a sickly yellow light, the one that reflected not my face but Ethan's, his eyes black, his mouth open in a silent scream. It said I had to look into his eyes to see what I'd done, to feel what he'd felt, to confess what I'd buried. I shook my head, my breath coming in short gasps, my voice a plea as I said I couldn't, that I wouldn't, that I didn't want to. But the clown leaned closer, its mask inches from my face, its voice a growl as it said I had no choice, that I'd play the game, that I'd lose my soul. I turned to the mirror, my flashlight beam trembling as it illuminated Ethan's face, his black eyes staring into mine, his mouth moving as he spoke, his voice a whisper that seemed to come from inside my head. He said I'd killed him, that I'd left him, that I'd run from the truth, that I'd brought him here, to this place, to this carnival, to this hell. I screamed, my voice breaking, my hands clawing at the mirror, trying to break it, trying to stop him, trying to stop myself. But the mirror didn't break. Ethan didn't stop. The carnival didn't let me go. The midway began to shake, the lights flickering faster, the laughter growing louder, the shadows closing in. The carousel spun out of control, its horses breaking free, their red eyes glowing brighter, their mouths open in screams that weren't silent anymore. The Ferris wheel collapsed, its cabins crashing to the ground, the shadowy figures inside crawling out, their hands reaching for me, their voices a chorus of pain and anger. The clowns stepped out from their booths, their masks glowing, their smiles stretching wider, their voices a chant as they said, "Confess, Lucas. Confess and be free. Confess and be ours." I fell to my knees, my hands pressed against my ears, my voice a scream as I confessed, as I said I was sorry, that I'd killed Ethan, that I'd convinced him to stay, that I'd let him drive, that I'd let him die. I said I'd do anything to take it back, to make it right, to be free. The laughter stopped. The lights dimmed. The shadows froze, and for a moment, I thought it was over, thought I'd won, thought I'd escaped. But then I heard it a new voice, deeper, older, colder, coming from the mirror, from the clown, from the carnival itself. It said I'd confessed, that I'd played the game, that I'd lost my soul. It said I belonged to the carnival now, to the Starlight Carnival, to the Carnival of Lost Souls. It said I'd relive that night forever, relive Ethan's death, relive the pain, the guilt, the fear, in an endless loop, a game I could never win, a prize I could never claim. I screamed, my voice raw, my hands clawing at the ground, trying to stand, trying to run, trying to fight. But the shadows closed in, the clowns surrounded me, the carnival swallowed me, and I felt my soul being torn away, felt my memories being rewritten, felt myself becoming part of the carnival, part of the game, part of the nightmare. The last thing I saw was my camera, still recording, its red light blinking in the darkness, capturing everything, capturing me, capturing the thing that took me. The last thing I heard was the voice, the deep, cold voice, saying I was theirs, that I'd always be theirs, that I'd never leave. And then there was nothing, just the darkness, just the laughter, just the carnival, just the endless loop of my worst memory, my worst nightmare, my worst fate. But the story didn't end there. A week later, my video was uploaded to my YouTube channel, not by me, but by someone or something else. It was titled, The Carnival of Lost Souls, My Last Exploration, and it showed everything: the entrance, the carousel, the funhouse, the midway, the clowns, the mirrors, the confession, the end. It went viral within hours, racking up millions of views, thousands of comments, countless theories about what had happened to me, about what I'd found, about what had taken me. The Starlight Carnival was sealed off by the authorities, its gates welded shut, its grounds declared off limits. But the stories didn't stop, the whispers didn't stop, the shadows didn't stop. People said they could hear me, could hear my voice, my screams, my confession, carried on the wind, echoing through the swamp, coming from the carnival. They said the lights still flickered, the carousel still spun, the clowns still laughed, even with the gates closed, even with the power cut, even with the world watching. They said the Carnival of Lost Souls was still there, still waiting, still playing its games, still collecting its souls. And I don't know if I believe them. Don't know if I believe in ghosts, in curses, in things that live in the shadows. But I know what I saw in that video, know what I heard, know what I felt. I watched it late at night, alone in my apartment. The lights off, the sound turned up, my heart pounding as I listened to Lucas's voice, as I watched him unravel, as I saw the thing that took him. I thought it was over when the video ended, thought I could turn it off, thought I could forget it, thought I could move on. But I was wrong. I heard it, just as I was about to close my laptop, just as I was about to go to bed, just as I was about to turn off the lights. A laugh, high and childlike, coming from the darkness, coming from the window, coming from the shadows outside. It said my name, said it knew me, said it had been waiting, said it wouldn't let me go. I turned, my heart pounding, my breath coming in short gasps, my eyes fixed on the window, on the shadow that wasn't a shadow, on the clown's mask that wasn't a mask, on the thing that was watching me. I don't know what to do, don't know how to stop it, don't know if I can stop it. But I know I can't stay here, can't keep doing this, can't keep pretending I'm not terrified. I'm leaving this recording, this message, this warning, for anyone who finds it, for anyone who listens, for anyone who dares to look. Don't go to the Starlight Carnival, don't listen to the laughter, don't play the games, don't confess your sins, don't let it in. Because if you do, if you go, if you listen, if you play, if you confess, it'll find you, it'll take you, it'll never let you go.